Hi everybody, my name is Christopher Local. The disorder I chose to do is manic depressive disorder, also known as bipolar disorder. So, bipolar disorder is characterized by dramatic shifts in mood, energy, and activity levels that affect a person's ability to carry out day-to-day activities. The symptoms, just a general feel for symptoms, include intense emotions, changes in sleep patterns and activity levels, unusual behaviors, and mood episodes. Some more extensive symptoms for the manic episode side of things, you have high energy levels, increased activity levels, you're jumpy, wired, agitated, irritable, touchy, racing thoughts, recklessness when it comes to sex or spending lots of money, active, you talk really fast about a lot of different topics. Some of the depressive symptoms, you feel sad, down, empty, hopeless, very little energy, decreased activity levels, you sleep too much, you sleep too little, you can't enjoy anything, you feel worried and empty, you have trouble concentrating, you forget things, you eat too much or too little, you feel tired or slowed down, and some even think about death or suicide. There are 4 types of bipolar disorder: bipolar 1, bipolar 2, cyclothymic disorder, and others. So bipolar 1 is manic episodes that last at least 7 days, or manic symptoms that are so severe that the person needs immediate hospital care. It also comes with depressive episodes that last at least 2 weeks, and having depression and manic symptoms at the same time are not uncommon. Bipolar 2 is pretty much the same thing as bipolar 1, only it has hypomania included, so the manic episodes are not as bad. Cyclothymic disorder is numerous periods of hypomanic symptoms and depressive symptoms. It lasts more than 2 years in adults and a year in children and adolescents. The symptoms do not meet the diagnostic requirements for a hypomanic episode and a depressive episode. And then the other specified category, unspecified bipolar and related disorders. So this is defined as bipolar disorder symptoms that do not match the 3 categories listed before. Okay, so some statistics. Who gets bipolar disorder and why? More than 2 million American adults, or 1% of the population age 18 or older in any given year, have bipolar disorder. It is estimated that the lifetime risk of bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 ranges from 3 to 10%. Bipolar disorder affects approximately 5.7 million adult Americans every year. So affects them meaning they have it themselves, or they have a family member with it, they have a friend with it, a colleague, a student, a teacher. Almost 10 million people will develop the illness sometime during their lives. About half of these will never receive the correct diagnosis or treatment. Bipolar disorder is the 6th leading cause of disability in the world. The median age of onset for bipolar disorder is 25 years. Women are more likely to be misdiagnosed with depression, and men are far more likely to be misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. Only 1 person in 4 receives an accurate diagnosis in less than 3 years. 70% of bipolar patients have been misdiagnosed more than 3 times before receiving the correct diagnosis. Up to 1 in 5 bipolar people complete suicide. So 30% of individuals with bipolar disorder will attempt it, and 20% will succeed. So 1 in 5 bipolar people completes suicide. That's a shockingly high number. So who gets it? How and why? Anybody can get bipolar disorder. You usually start showing symptoms in your late teens and early adult years. Children and older adults can also show symptoms, though, and it does last a lifetime. So how and why? Doctors do not know the cause. They believe that family genes may be a factor, When one of your parents has it, your risk is 15 to 30%. When both of your parents have it, your risk goes up to 50 to 70%. So it's quite a leap. But that doesn't mean you will get it. 80 to 90% of individuals with bipolar disorder have a relative of some kind with either depression or bipolar disorder. They believe that it could be something within the brain structure or the brain function, could be chemical levels within the brain that aren't functioning properly. They think that if they can pinpoint what it really is, whether it's the structure, the function, or genetics, they may be able to prevent it one day. So a little history on it here. January 1854, Julius Ballarger addressed the French Imperial Academy of Medicine. He called it dual-form insanity. It would later be known as bipolar disorder. Less than 2 months later, Jean-Pierre Falleret presented the same concept, only he called it circular insanity. And then Emile Kraepelin is known as the father of our current understanding of bipolar disorder. He studied his patients between the 19th and 20th centuries, and he called what he saw manic depressive psychosis. He incorporated 3 key concepts into his finding, and those included bipolar being a disease with a recognizable pattern of symptoms. It has some kind of biological basis, and it follows a pattern of recurrence and remission. And then Karl Leonhard was a German psychiatrist in the 1950s. He coined the terms bipolar and unipolar. Bipolar meaning mania and depression, and unipolar being depression only. And then in 1954, the DSM, 1952, the DSM, the manic depressive reaction made its first appearance in the DSM. It was considered primarily a reaction to psychosocial factors. In 1968, that term changed to manic depressive illness. In 1980, the DSM adopted the term bipolar disorder, and a distinction was made between adult and pediatric bipolar disorder. In 1987, the introduction of the subtypes and subclassifications was introduced. In 1994, bipolar II was included as a diagnosis, and the definitions for rapid cycling and mixed states appeared, and contemporary diagnostic criteria and subtypes were defined. In 2010, the current concept of childhood bipolar disorder was removed, and a new disorder category was created, and that is called temper dysregulation disorder and dysphoria, TDD. So some treatments, some natural and medicinal treatments. Natural treatments would be to stay away from substances, alcohol, drugs, opiates, marijuana. My grandma suffers from bipolar disorder, and in her younger years she felt that marijuana would help her because it would calm her down. It didn't. It had the opposite effect. Her manic episodes were horrible because of it. No toxic relationships. Everybody knows that people feed off of other people. So if you are trying to keep yourself in a Zen mood and you are trying to keep yourself out of a manic state, the best thing you can do is stay away from someone that's going to trigger your mania. Exercise. It's been proven that the endorphins released in exercise releases enough to have the same effect as Zoloft. Keep a regular sleep pattern. Sleep is very important. Eat a proper diet that includes some of these dietary supplements. A lot of these you can get just with a normal multivitamin. According to the research I read, the folic acid is the most important, though. Some medicinal treatments would be mood stabilizers, atypical antipsychotics, antidepressants, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, family-focused therapy, interpersonal and social rhythm therapy, and psychoeducation. Some other treatment options could include electroconvulsive therapy, sleep medications, and keeping a life chart. Success rates with lithium vary from 70 to 80% to 40 to 50%, so it's kind of all over the place, but you'll at least have a 40% chance of success if you want to think about it that way. Using family-focused treatment helped prevent relapse, and there was a 60% reduction in bipolar disorder relapse when cognitive behavioral therapy was used along with medication. So now this is a list of treatment centers. I found this very cool because, you know, when you think about the mental disorder of bipolar disorder, it's hard to find help and to get on those medications and to go through the therapy and to understand that the medications will work, but you have to go through the steps of finding the right combinations and the right medications for you and the right therapy for you. So these are places that help with that. These are just like rehab centers for drug addicts, or, you know, things of that nature. So this first one here, the Skyland Trail Bipolar Center, is a private bipolar treatment center in Atlanta. The second one is a psychiatric hospital and residential treatment center. It is open and voluntary, and it is located in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. The third one is for women in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is a strictly women's program. The fourth one is a private nonprofit psychiatric rehab facility. It's located on 372 rolling wooded acres in Holly, Michigan. It's gorgeous, I'll just tell you that. The fifth one is located in Beth Israel Hospital. They practice family inclusive treatment. The sixth one is an outpatient only. They are experts in non-drug based treatments. So if you would prefer a non-medicinal place, that would be the one to go to. Number 7 here is the Lakeview Health, so we're starting up at the top. It's located in Jacksonville, Florida. They do a dual diagnosis treatment center, so they actually do addictions as well, because everybody knows that, you know, bipolar disorder and mental disorders go hand in hand with addiction, because people try to use those drugs and those substances to cope with their symptoms. So the next one is a teen female treatment center, so it's strictly for females in their teen years. The next one is a psychiatric hospital. It has a very high staff to patient ratio, which it has success rates high, and it's in Connecticut. The next one is in Massachusetts, and it provides a whole health approach, meaning medical, behavioral, and nutritional. So they do the diets, the medicine, the therapy. They give you the full rounded experience. The 11th one, the Morningside Recovery, is a unique bipolar stabilization program. They practice stress management, nutrition, and bipolar specific education. It's known that if you know more about your disease, then you are more likely to succeed in recovery from it. And then the last one is rated the best. They even do genetic testing to see how bad your disorder is and if there's any ways that they can help you more medication-wise. So I definitely learned a lot with this presentation. There were a few other statistics I wanted to share here. So the disorder results in 9.2 years reduction in expected lifespan, and that's because bipolar disorder can double your risk of early death. 35% of bipolar disorder individuals are obese, and people with bipolar disorder are 3 times more likely to develop diabetes, and 1.5 to 2 times more likely to die from conditions like heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. So with these treatment centers, especially the ones that incorporate the nutrition, I think that would really, really help, because, I mean, look at these statistics on people dying from diseases that can be fixed with nutrition and exercise. So these are my sources, the websites I visited. So I hope you learned as much as I did, and thank you.